What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. I got a brand new suggestion box review for you guys. I just watched a movie called Memories of Murder, starring Kang Ho Song, Kim Sang Kyung, and Kim Roy Ha. I actually made it through those names. I made it. First of all, gotta give a huge shout out to the one and only Lindy May. I told you I would get to this review. All right, it took a minute, but here I am. All right, you have any more suggestions? Keep them coming. Please keep them coming. All right. Let's talk about crooked cops in movies, shall we? We can start with one of the best to do it, Denzel in Training Day, or we could talk about Matt Damon in The Departed, which was probably one of the first movies to kind of let you know that cops also get infiltrated from the inside. The mafia also puts undercovers in the precincts instead of the cops always putting undercovers in the mafia. Goes down both ways. Or we can talk about some TV series. Shows like Boardwalk Empire and Michael Shannon, the character he played, which was probably the first detective that was just repressed and just one of the strangest detectives I've ever seen. And on top of that, he still was crooked. All right. And by the way, Michael Shannon did a great job on that role. Probably one of his best roles he's ever done. Okay. And then there's also Reno 9/11. Yes. The whole precinct was crooked, was bad. No good. All right. And I know it's a comedy. You're supposed to laugh and blah, blah, blah. But still, it's a very notable lineup to be on this list. Okay. They belong on a list. Trust me. Now, with all of that said, somehow I did not recognize for the slightest the dynamic duo Park and Cho from Memories of Murder. All right, somehow that went by me. All right, and this is an actual case that happened. Okay, so my question is: are Park and Cho just as bad as these other cops on the list, or are they mere child's play compared to them? That's what we're gonna find out. Let's go. Memories of Murder. For those who don't know, for those who are not aware, you're probably not aware, because this was an actual case. Like I said, this just actually happened. Right? It was between the 80s and the 90s in Korea. One of their first ongoing big murder cases in Korea. And I had no idea the movie even existed, or let alone that this was actually a thing. So you probably don't know. All right. Memories of Murder. It's pretty much about a group of very incompetent, especially two detectives that are given a case to solve about a rapist / murderer who's going through the town just raping and killing a lot of women in this town. All right. And these guys have to figure out who it is. But the problem is, everybody they've lined up or gathered for suspects, they just don't cut it. They just don't fit the bill. All right. It's not them. And so these guys are having an extremely hard time figuring out who exactly is doing all of this. All right. And that is the premise of the movie. Now, positives. First positive I have to get out the way. Probably one of my favorite characters. Kind of by default, because there's nothing else to really work with. Detective Seal Tate. Alright. Once he came into the movie, I could take it serious for once. Alright, but before him, the other ones I just mentioned, they really had me worried. But I refrain from going any further with that because that's going to be mentioned later on. All right, that's more of a negative. Let's just say once he got in there, I could see a change in the movie. I took a different interest into it, other than what I was already thinking. He played no games. He was serious about his job. He wasn't joking around like the other ones. All right, this was not a joking matter to him, and I respect him for that. He wasn't the funnest character, but for something like this, supposed to be a serious murder mystery, he did his job. He did his job. I love that. I love that. Another positive from this, you could feel the frustration between these cops. No matter if they did their job or not, you could still tell that at the end of the day, they were all heavily frustrated, just upset, fed up. They keep running into a dead end road. All right, every time they can't figure out who is doing all this, and there were spurts of anger at times, and people would fight. They were fighting each other, and they would laugh one minute, fight the next. You know, and it was all just a lot of anger, built up anger, impatience. You know, it can only go so long without your head exploding. Okay, and you felt that through these actors. So I really loved how they expressed all of that. Great job on it. Another thing that I took in from this movie had a exquisite lineup of characters in it. All right, and what I mean by that is that when it's a murder mystery, you need almost every actor in there to have you wondering: is this the one that did it, or is this one? You don't want to automatically just know who did it. All right, from the get go, you want to sit there and wonder for a minute. You want to do your own little detective work and have a hard time doing it, because that's what you want in a movie. You want to wonder, and this movie brought that, because every suspect, every perp that they gathered, they had something about them that they could have possibly been the one. No one was innocent. There were no innocent people in this movie. The cops could have been suspects. It was that vibe. And I felt it with each and every character. You just don't know who did it. All right. Even though I had one person in my radar that the cops really didn't even pay attention to. And I caught that. And I thought that might have been the one. But I won't say what happened. Okay. I'm just telling you, I thought this might have been the one. It was that good. It was that good with the lineup. Now, let's get to those negatives, because we have to. First negative in this thing here, I gotta say it, and I think I mentioned this earlier, and I was trying to refrain from it. Now I can mention it. When I first started watching this movie, I was confused with what tone they were trying to set. Because all you got was our good friends Park and Cho. And they were like the comedy duo in a comedy movie that were given lead roles. They were supposed to be side characters, but they were given lead roles for some reason. And I couldn't figure if this is supposed to be a drama or a comedy, or is it a dark comedy? What is this? I was a little confused. I did not like that they set the tone like that. I thought this was supposed to be a serious subject. But if it's not, then can the movie please kind of make that a little more clear? If it's supposed to be based on a true story, what's going on? I was so thrown off by that beginning tone. I did not like it, and those two cops kept giving it off every time. Like, what am I supposed to be feeling here? I don't understand. Is this a joke or is this serious? So I didn't like that from the beginning. A second thing that I had an issue with was the way that they investigated. I really hate it when cops are just trying to rile up anybody and kind of just put a charge on them or make that person confess to something they didn't do. And these two cops, once again, Park and Cho, that's all they did with their horrible bad cop, good cop roles that they played. It was they were just bad. They were just not the ones. I don't understand how they got their jobs. Who hired these people? Okay, these are the worst cops ever. There must have not been anybody else acceptable for the job in that town to get these guys that job. They don't even know what they're doing. They really did not know what they were doing, and it was sad to watch because the way they investigated, they tortured people, they ran people down, they beat people up, bullied people into trying to confess. Every tactic you can think of, and they weren't quiet about it. They weren't. There's a word for it. I'm messing it up right now. There's a word for it. They weren't that. They were not that. Okay, and it rubbed me the wrong way, man. Like, who are these people? A third negative, a character. Detective Cho. Detective Cho had to be the worst one. He was specifically the bad cop when they did their good cop, bad cop roles. He was the bad cop because the first one would come in and he would talk to the person, wasn't really confident about what he was doing in the first place. Then out of nowhere, Cho would come in and just start beating the crap out of the suspect. And it wasn't even organized right. It was all over the place. And the dude would go off like he had issues. He had bad issues, mental issues. There was a scene where Detective Cho was in a bar and he was drinking hard. And he saw something on the TV that set him off about, how bad of a job the cops in that town were already doing. He broke the TV. Then he turned around and he started to fight everybody in the bar for no reason. They had to yell, "Cops, somebody call the cops. He is the cops." That's when I shook my head like, oh my God, when is this going to stop? Please get him off the force. That's bad. That's horrible. Who's hiring these people once again? A fourth negative out of this that I have to give to you. I did not like how the movie ended. All right. It left me empty. It really left me empty. I can't say any more of why it left me empty because that would give so much away. But it left me like, what am I supposed to do with this? What do I do with this ending? What? But with all that said, I'm giving this a hell yeah. That's right. But you can tell by the tone, the way I said hell yeah, it was a very hard decision. You understand? Because I didn't, the way I was left with that ending, it had me to think, well, let me go ahead and look up this case, the real case, and see what happened with all of this. And then once I saw what happened, I understood a little better. I was like, okay, I was satisfied with understanding. But still, I was about to give it an eye cool. Until I had to think, well, this movie had me riled up to the point where I wanted to look deeper into, the case. Then it did its job. It brought out those feelings in me. It made me feel something in order to do that. Because if I didn't care about the movie, I wouldn't even try to look the case up. I would have just been done with this. But because I did that, it did what it had to do. All right, I felt something for this movie in order to waste my time looking that up. All right, so it gets what it gets, barely. Almost was a lower count. Press that like button. Share this video. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I'm out.